today our topic is, as already Avishna has discussed, that is the introduction on the Apache Camel. So first of all, before starting the session, I would like to just give you some of the knowledge etiquette like punctuality. So we have to start the session and prior to the 5 minutes of the session. And I would like to have the feedbacks after the completion of the session. Like so, it will be helpful for us also, for me and Sabia, to give the more sessions on and to acquire the more knowledge on other sessions that we are going to have in our future. And also I would like you to please be on silent mode, and to make this session more interactive, I would like to ask you to just have a questions or the query if you have in the middle of the session or in the last of the session. So our agenda here is to, first of all, I would like to explain you what are the enterprise integration, why the enterprise integrations are complex, why we are going to use the Apache Camel, introduction of the Apache Camel, and also the features of the Apache Camel. Then after that, we are going to give you the brief demo on the architecture. After the architecture, how we are going to work in the Apache Camel, and also the components of it. After that, Sabia will going to give you the brief of the demo and how exactly we are going to use the Apache Camel with the help of the coding. So, in the starting, I would like to explain you enterprise integrations are very much complex. So here is the term is the integration. What exactly the integration is? So basically, integration is the process of bringing together various types of softwares and the subsystems so that we can create a unified single system and we can communicate in this unified single system. So our in enterprise, we have to do different integrations also, like we have the different microservices, and if you want to talk with in between these microservices, we have to do some integration. So in integration integration, so basically what exactly we are doing here, we are using the multiple integration approaches, includes like API management, application integration, and also the messaging to leverage the enterprise services, and we can connect these different services and make the use of these services. So why this enterprise communication is complex? So if you are looking into this figure, we are having different types of microservices, and here we can saw that microservices 4 is going to used by different microservices like 1, 2, 3, and 5, and 5 microservices using the fourth microservices, and so on. So this complex image is also itself is giving how the integration can be complex in our day-to-day enterprising. So to avoid such complexity, we are going to use the Apache Camel. Why basically this enterprise integration is complex? Because we have the complex communication pattern here, and in this communication we are having different types of transport such as HTTP queues, etc. And also we are using different types of protocols as HTTP, JMS. And when the evolution of the clouds and microservices happens, then the integration is becoming more complex, and it's not easy to understand and also not easy to implement. So to make it easy to understand and make it easy to implement, we have to follow some enterprise integration pattern. But eventually it's not easy to understand these patterns because these patterns are also too complex and these are not easy to implement. So to avoid such complexity, we have some framework, that is the Apache Camel. So what is the problem that Apache Camel is solving? So basically enterprise communication are very complex, and it is having thousands of application and n number of applications. To make these integration easier, and to make the communication between these services easier, and like the communication can be between different queues, different database, different file system, and also in between the different endpoints. To make such things easier, we are going to use the Apache Camel. So Apache Camel makes the integration messy. It just avoid these messy things, because why it is messy? We are having different prototypes and also the different data formats. I am just going to explain you what are these data formats later on in this presentation. So basically this Apache Camel just it hides all the complexity that are coming in such integrations, and only we are focused on the business logic. So any developer is now not going to worry about how we can just do those complexity and how to write such long code for the complexity, because such complexities are already taken care by this Apache Camel. So Apache Camel is really a simple to use and it's very powerful, and it has tons of components, and there are n number of components that we can use. Eventually there are 20 plus components that are used most of the times, but there are 100 plus components are also there that are used in Apache Camel. So few of the examples are bean, browse, control bus, etc. And also it has a great strings and bean integrations also, like produce, consume, bean injects. So this was just why we are going to use the Apache Camel. But what exactly the Apache Camel is? Like it is, we all know it is the open source enterprise integration framework. So it easily integrates the systems that are consuming data and that are producing the data. So between this consuming and the producing, there is some of the integration that need to be done to transfer the data from the source to the target. That is done by the Apache Camel. So what basically Apache Camel, before coming to the picture, it was inspired by the book, that is the title called Enterprise Integration Pattern. If you go on to this book, you will going to have some integration pattern that are there. It involves the microservices architecture and also the cloud. So now I would like to explain you like why Apache Camel is really a lightweighted and it's really the extendable. Even though Camel help us to integrate varieties of application, it integrates with like Kafka with the JMS. I don't know how many people can know about the JMS. Just JMS is the application, or it is the API that is used to create the message, write the message, or read the message. So it is a messaging API. So if we want to talk with different cloud services like AWS Lambda, in spite of such massive things, in spite of all those things in the Apache Camel, it is a lightweighted. Why? Because there is something that is there in the Apache Camel, that is the component architecture. Because we are following the component architecture here, that's why it is the lightweighted. It has 100 plus components that I already told you in our previous slides, like the database, messaging queues, API cloud integrations, and also the 200 plus protocols to transfer the data from the source to our designation or to the target. So here it says provide the domain specific language customized to suit need of application integration. What exactly this domain specified language is? It is the high level programming that is providing you the high level of abstraction. And here are in Apache Camel, the domain application is as of now based for only 3 languages, but it will be for other domain also. The domain that are, first one is the Java, second one is the XML based, and third one is the Scala based. There are a few features of the Apache Camel, like Camel supports pluggable data formats, types of converted for such messages, like if you want to transform the message or new formats or convert the data. And also currently the supportable formats that are used to convert the data are CSV, EDI, and JSON, and others are also there. Suppose here in the case the user wants to input the data in TXT, but he wants to get the output as a JSON. So the Apache Camel coming to the picture, transform the data from the TXT to the JSON. Such features are also there in the Apache Camel. Camel supports a pluggable language to write the predicates in DSL. I have already explained you the DSL. Some of the supports of languages also it includes JavaScript, Ruby, Python, PHP, Ruby, etc. Camel also supports the Pojo model so that you can plug in to Java beans at various points. Now here is my architecture of the Apache Camel. Apache Camel have the endpoints. And in those endpoints, these endpoints are connecting with the different components. As you can see, we have the JMS components, HTTP components, file components, other components are also there, the database components and so on. We have the processor in the Apache Camel. If you see here, this is a processor, and the processor can have the filtering of the data, routing of the data, and also the transformation of the data can be there, validation of the data, tracking the data, logging the data. These are all come into these processing. So what are these endpoints? These endpoints are nothing but the receivers and the senders. And here we are having these components. These components just the interfaces between these endpoints, like the components JMS, HTTP. And now here we are having the camel processor. Camel processor, when we are going to transfer some data or we are sending some data, it might be the case like we have to work on that data, like we have the before after sending the data can have the junk data also, that the target person or the target resource does not want the data. So before sending before receiving the data, there may be some processing or filtering of the data can be done, or the transformation of data that I have already told you, that the data formats can be changed. So such things are doing into our processing. And also the validation. Suppose we have given the invalid data from the source. So to reaching to the target, first of all, we have to check whether the source is sending the valid data or that is the invalid data. So such processing are done in this Apache Camel processor. And here the Apache router. The router is a crucial part of our Apache Camel, as it is the ordered combination of processing steps. What exactly the processing steps are happening in this Apache integration framework? All the processing steps are coming into our router. So all the flows, all the logics that are happen in the integration, so all are done in this router. And routers are using that DSL, that are domain specific languages for that. So this is the architecture of the Apache Camel that I have explained you here. Now here is some clean picture of how Apache Camel processor is working. So suppose here is the source. So source just want to send some data, some files of data to the designation. How it is going to send? There is one picture of Apache Camel. It is having the router. So routers, it will having the all the steps by steps processing that is need to be done. So here is the processor that are processing our data. So here we are going to have the get in, the messages get, and whatever the processing need to be done are done in the Apache Camel. And after on, we can send this filtered data or processed data to our designation or to our target. This is how the Apache Camel processor is working. I have explained you in previous slide, and this is the figure out the image of it. How it works, the Apache Camel, how it is working in R. So it is working with the camel core, or if camel routers are also there, and camel contest is also there. What is the camel core here? Camel core basically contain all the functionalities that need to be run this camel application. The main was that DSL, I already told you, that is the domain specific language that we are using. So this domain specific language are using by the routers also, and it is having the routing engine. It is implementing the EIP, that enterprise integration patterns it is having. It is having different types of data converters also, and the core components like 20 plus we are having the core components like file component, database components, and other ones. Camel routers. What is the camel routers? Camel routers represent a chain of processing steps that is need to be applied for a message and the set of rules that are happening here. The routers has been defined by from our endpoint and one or more processing steps that need to be done, commonly called as processors. What is camel context? A dynamic multi-threading router contains responsibilities of managing all the aspects of routing, like route life cycle, message conversions, configurations, error handling, monitoring, and so on. All these things are done by the camel context. So here, before explaining you what is the Apache message, I would just like to give you some brief about what is messaging. So most of the integration projects are using messaging. So it basically why we are using, because it helps in creating a loosely coupled application architecture. Messaging can be synchronous and asynchronous. Our JMS API is supporting both point to point and publish to subscribe model. So here what exactly messaging is, messaging are the message is the in Apache Camel is the implementation of the message interface. Message is majorly having the four types, that is the UID, it is having the header, attachment and body also. And here endpoints, I already told you, any producers or any consumer in the camel route is an endpoint. Considering camel route, it can be as a graph, or endpoints can be treated as a node here. What exactly the exchange is? A message container and a link between producer and consumer endpoints, and it holds different informations about it, and the information can be about the producers and the consumer endpoints. It can have the message or information about the message route. Also it can have the information about the what are the prototypes, what are the transport they are using, and also it can have the information about any error, any exception, or any error it's thrown. Here is the brief about how Apache Camel routing is working, because this routing is very crucial part of our Apache Camel, because it's basically shown you how we are processing and what are the steps of processing in the Apache Camel. So Apache Camel route starts with from, that acts as a consumer, and consumer can be of following types: polling consumers, it's fetching the message periodically. Event driving consumers, it's listening for the events. Consumer receives a message from an external system also. Consumer can break the message in a camel specific format. Those are called exchange, that is explained in the previous slide. And it can start the routing between two endpoints. Producers are identical by the keywords called to. One message received producer will be converting the exchange and delivering them to the channel. Here is the pictorial representation of how camel messaging routing works, from the from to the to, that means from the source to the end. This is how the camel routing works in Apache Camel integration. So now I would like to have some code based demo also, that is going to be explained by the Savia. So I'm like to ask Savia to please take a charge of the session now onwards.
Thank you, Chitra.
Thank
Good
you, Savia.
afternoon, everyone. So let me share my screen first. Yes. So without wasting time, let's get started with a small demo. I'll showcase from the scratch. First of all, I'll create one simple project that includes Apache Camel, and I'll play with Apache Camel with some of the features. So I'll start with my favorite site, that is Spring Initializer. In order to create one project, yes, I'm gonna create Maven project as Java, and taking version 2.6.10, group ID as microservice, artifact as camel microservice, and description as demo project for camel. Packaging as jar, and my version would be 11. And one main prerequisite for Apache Camel, which is required, I'll add the dependency for Apache Camel from here. Camel. Camel is an open source integration framework that empowers you to quickly and easily integrate various systems consuming or producing data. Another dependency I would like to add is DevTools, which will help me to restart my application, as well as live reload and configuration for enhanced development experience. And one prerequisite is Spring Web. Yeah. So now I'll generate my project. with Apache Camel dependency integrated into this project. Yes, I received a zip file. I'll extract this. And I'm gonna open it into my IntelliJ Camel microservice. So this is my project, and my project is ready with Apache Camel dependency, and dependency is also downloaded. We'll refresh first. And yeah, first of all, I would like to run my application in order to check whether my application is running successfully or not. Yes, my application started successfully. Okay, so first of all, I would like to showcase pom.xml, the dependency which is required in order to play with Apache Camel. So this is my dependency with version 3.17.0. And if I want to remove this hard-coded version from here, what I will do, I'll add one property, Camel version here, and moving this version, hard-coded version, in my property, so that if I will require to use any camel dependency, so that I can use this camel version with a dollar sign. This is just to remove the hard coded things. Saving the file and rerunning my application. Yes, application started successfully. Moving forward, I'll create one class that will be my first camel route. Or we can say first cam route in order to play with routes. Yes, this is my class, and now I'll extend one class that is required in order to play with route. That is route builder. This why I have extended this class, because this class consists of all the methods which are required in order to play with Apache Camel features. It is giving me a compilation error. I'll implement the method configure. Yeah, in this method, I'm gonna write my route code. Okay, I'll showcase you three things. First is receiving message from any external source. That is, for example, I'm reading message from any queue or any external URL, and then transforming the message and then saving it to any log. Yes, for receiving any message from any URL, I would require to use from method, passing the URL here, from where I'll read the message from timer component of Apache Camel. This is just a string, and we will write it as it is with the timer as string and passing the name of URL. Yes, from this URL, I'm gonna read message and then transform the message or save the message to any logger with the help of two methods. For logging, I'll use log component of Camel. First timer, semicolon, saving my file, and I'll run the application again. Oops, nothing happened. Why? Because I have not written an annotation component onto my class. application started, and you will see that my route is reading data from first time. Here it is. Route 1 started with the URL reading data from this URL, and you can see that body is null. In order to change this body is null, I will transform my message. As of now, message is not transformed, message is only processed. So in order to transform the message, what I will use, dot transform method, and I want my message to be started with the constant as my constant message. Saving my file, rerunning application, and you will see the difference. Yes, body is being changed, and which means that I have done some transformation from null body message to the my constant message. So what here we are doing is we are transforming the message, reading the message first, and then transforming the message, and then logging the message. In order to make this thing dynamic, what we can use is we can use beans also here. So I'll create one class here only. You can create this class outside this class also. I'll create here only. Naming my class. I'll write one simple method with a return type as a string. Get current time. Return statement. It could be any. Time right now is. I'll use local time date class. It will be compatible with only Java 8 and upper versions. So what I did here is now I'll call this bean into my bean method of my camel. I'll comment it out, transform that was hard coded, and now I am gonna create it as a dynamic with the help of bean. We'll pass the bean name. In single quotes. Yes. What we did is we have removed the hard coded message from here, and we have used bean in order to generate the message. Or with the help of this bean, what we are doing is we are transforming the message from null to this local date time. So now in output you will able to see the date time of the message. Rerunning the application. Yes, you are able to see the time here. Body is being transformed from null to local date time. But here one bad practice is there. We are these bean is dependent on this. So in order to remove this dependency, what I will do is I'll auto wire this bean here. And use this bean into my method signature, method arguments. Rerun my application, the things will work as it is. Yes, you can see the output with the local date time. So what I was doing here is I was transforming the message from null to local date time. I will use another method which will be only for processing my message without transformation. I'll write another class here. Simple process. I'll be writing one simple method with void as return type. Process my pass one message here. In this method, I am going to log the message without doing any transformation. With the help of logger factory, log this class. Importing for logger.info. In order to log the message, I'll simply log the message here. Saving the file and rerunning my application. One minute. I'll also auto wire this class also here in order to avoid the dependency. Simple process. I'm gonna use this bean here instead of this current time bean. You will see that body is null again because we are doing processing here. We are not transforming the message as we were doing in this method with the local date time. I was transforming the message. In this method, I am only processing the message that was null. So what we learned here are we can transform the message with the help of we can process the message with the help of this method, and also we can process the message with the help of bean. So we are having two operations. One is transformation and the other one is processing. So in order to process my request, I can use a process method also. In process, I'll instantiate one class. Why it is showing this compilation error? Because I have to implement process. So yes. Again, compilation error, implement the method process. Without wasting time, I'm gonna copy this code. I'll print exchange here, comment it out.
Sabia, I'm sorry to interrupt in between, but we just have 5 minutes more left for the session to be complete.
Okay, sure. We'll take 5 more minutes. I'm gonna print exchange here. It is giving some compilation error. For this processor class, we don't have to use a component here because we are using new keyword in method only. Get message. I think simple process. Yes, you can see the difference. That message first it was null, and then it is body is null. So from here we are having two learnings. That is, we can get the message from any external system, and then we can process or transform and then save it to the any log or any database or any external endpoint or any destination. So this was the demo from my side. Now you guys are open to the questions.
Seems no one is having any queries. They have absorbed all the content. Seems. I hope you are getting my voice, right?
Yes, yes, you're
Yeah,
audible.
perfect. Yeah, so Chitra, Sabi, I think it was fantastic session. At least I sense that the content and presentation was pretty good, and and I also feel that the most of the audience are having similar kind of feeling, and my expectation is only that from audiences they should remain continue with the technology what they are learning through such kind of approaches like knowledge session. So then it will add more value to their profile and their knowledge base. So thanks Chitra, thanks Savia. It was a fantastic session.